I have this thing about open world games. Ubisoft made them bad for the most part. Elden Ring might actually be a good open world game. Hey guys, how's it going? I've been playing Elden Ring, and it's really, really good. I know, spoiler alert, I like the Dark Souls games, and a game like that made by the studio, oops, I like it, turns out. So, that's going to be good for this video because I can make a whole entire video talking about nothing, even though I'm not very far in the game, actually. Anyway, I have like a medium-sized history with the Soulsborne games. That would be like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne. I started, actually, the whole thing with... No, let's go back a little bit further, because it actually, my whole experience goes back in time a little bit. So the first experience I ever had with a Dark Souls, Bloodborne-esque style game was at my friend Eric's house. And I sort of just, he was like, hey, bro, there's this really cool game that I'm really enjoying that you should try. And like with most things that my friend Eric introduced to me, I try them. And so with, Dark Souls, I tried it. I was like playing it. I played it for a little while, died like 4 or 5 times and was like,
this game sucks, dude. I can't believe you showed me this. I can't believe people like this kind of game.
And as I said, with most things Eric shows me, it turns out that I'm stupid and dumb and he's got good taste. Like, that's how it was with, like, Coheed and Cambria, and a couple other, like, music bands that I really, really like now. I'm just really slow and he's, like, way ahead of me on these kinds of things. So anyway, yeah, of course, today, by Eric, like, by the transitive property of Eric likes thing is I don't like thing, then I like thing. Of course, I like Dark Souls now and think it's one of the best styles of games ever created. But after that, like many years after that, the first Souls-esque style game I played that I really, really enjoyed was Bloodborne, which I think came out in like 2014 or something like that. And I played it like in 2015, I'm pretty sure. No, it was like, and whatever. It was not super new when I played it, and it being the first one I ever liked, it was the first one I ever went through the whole like journey of, instead of bouncing off the game whenever you die a million times over and over again and you start to lose your body and soul to the machine of grinding against a brick wall in a Dark Souls video game, I ended up dying in the first area with just the regular dudes a lot, like so many, like I want to say, not exaggerating, probably somewhere around like 100 times ish in just the first area, just like the one where they're like, this town's finished, and all of the zombie looking beast half patrolling dudes. I died to those guys like I want to say 100 times. Occasionally I would make it to the brick troll on the other side of the door and just die to him. And boy, that was the first time I felt what other players felt whenever they're playing these kinds of games. I felt that like rush of accomplishing something, because every time I would get further, I would feel like I really did something, which is what everyone, whenever they're playing these games, says they love. And the first time I killed that brick troll, the first boss, Gehrman, not Gehrman, well, he's the last boss. Oops, what am I? Excuse me. No, the first boss I killed being Father Gascan, that's a feeling, that. If you've never played Souls games, then I'm sure you've felt this elsewhere in life or something, but it's this huge, like, accomplished feeling that you get from beating one of the bosses that you're just killing you, and the first time you do it. Christian can attest to this, because his first was Dark Souls 3, and it was Udix Gundyr was his first boss. It's just, and then you get it. Like, you immediately get it. It's like right there. It's like, oh, this is the drug y'all been hiding from me this entire time. Got it. I'm stupid. And so that's when all of the things Eric had been saying to me for all these years was completely, like, vindicated. And I was like, shit, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It would still take me another 5 years to realize that anytime Eric suggests something to me, it's probably fucking good, because he's got good taste. Bloodborne aside, because that game rocks, I ended up, then playing Dark Souls 3, really enjoying it sime, not having that same level of euphoria because it's not my first Souls game, everyone knows that shit. Played Sekiro, but haven't finished it because, look at the time. So of course, that being me and my history, of course I was going to be stupid excited for Elden Ring, and I've been waiting and dying inside and waiting and surviving by eating Capri Suns and Jell-O for like 4 years until Elden Ring finally was in my hands, except for it wasn't because I downloaded it and don't have a physical copy, but maybe I will buy a physical copy at some point, just to say I have one because it'll feel cool and good. And I have this thing for like physical copies, because I got a lot of them actually, and I really like having them and enjoying them, but nowadays physical copies aren't really the games, and like half the game is usually like actually online, so you have to download it, and that's how you actually get the game. So I'm worried that if I buy like a physical copy of a game, then it's not actually going to be the game. So if I was offline and I had a new console or something like that, it wouldn't actually work. Needless to say, I will do something about that at some point. Let's talk about Elden Ring now. So I've been streaming this Elden Ring, right? I've been streaming this little game called Elden Ring. You may not have heard of it, and you can, if you watch from the beginning, or you go back and watch the VOD that's on the playlist, you will see how excited I was. I was like rocking back and forth in my chair right as it was up to coming out, and that there's like a little mini version of that inside my head that has been there for like years, ever since it was announced. That's slowly building up its rocking speed in that rocking chair for years. Because at first, whenever I first heard of Elden Ring, I was like, yeah, okay, I love Souls games, so I'll definitely play it. I enjoyed Sekiro, so of course I will play it. Yeah, da-da-da-da. But the like momentum, right? The maximum velocity of this rocking chair was slowly building up over the course of years as more and more information started getting revealed. And it wasn't until I watched like gameplay of it and got the idea of what they were doing that it really like exploded with a firework, and the jet boosters underneath the rocking chair finally ignited and rocketed into the sky. So like they would announce things and they would talk about the game a little bit. It was like, and they would use buzzwords like open world and okay, yeah, that's great, I guess. I have this thing about open world games.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Ubisoft made them bad for the most part. Like, I did play the original Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2, and those were fine games, they were decent games, but from there, obviously, you can tell they're all the same now, and they use just an abundance of, like, repeated content in their open worlds to make them feel like there's a lot to do, but they're just, like, boring and repetitive, and so whenever I hear someone, like a company, say open world, I'm thinking, oh, great, wanna Ubisoft clone shit, garbage, trash, fires. Like, even good ones like Horizon, even that game is bogged down by that style of gameplay, because there's a lot of good in that game, but it honestly probably would have been a better game if it was less open world. Anyway, needless to say, the idea of an open world Dark Souls actually kind of took a couple points off for me until I saw actual gameplay footage, and then my mind started to think like, oh, this is more like Breath of the Wild Dark Souls, not Ubisoft Dark Souls. And then it started to really ratchet up my excitement and momentum for this game. So, with the idea that Elden Ring might actually be a good open world game, in my head, now that I had that, right whenever the day came to be playing it, like I was downloading it, I took 2 days off of work, by the way, just so that I could play Elden Ring. I was that built up and excited and hyped for it. I was sitting there, at 11, because I'm in the central time zone, so then the 11 went and instead of midnight, and I was just like ready to go, and it's in the footage, you can see it, it's probably behind. Oh, wait, which side would it be? Hold on. Okay, if you're looking here, and then my head's there, okay. There I am, so excited, look at the guy. He's so cute. Past me, really excited for Elden Ring. Current me, really excited for Elden Ring. The opening moments of the game give you a very classic feeling of FromSoft, and I don't know, it's like a breath of life, right? Like whenever you've been so excited for something, and you're just like, spending 40 minutes on creating your character. Okay, I lied to you. I didn't open it up immediately and start playing. I didn't spend 2 hours, like the joke would suggest, so I did a good job. I only spent a little bit of time on the character creation. And look at her. I did a good job. I didn't overdo it. And then after I had spent the obligatory at least 30 minutes creating your character in a From Software game, I then was finally playing the game, and boy was I doing the playing of the game, and it was, and then I was like, and the slashy, you know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. I chose the prisoner as my build because I wanted someone with strength and intelligence, because I wanted to be able to be like a knight who casts spells. That was my plan. I saw the footage, the gameplay footage from the trailers, and I was like, kapow, look at that. He's on a horse casting spells? That's baller. Oh, but I do like swords, so I do need to be slashing. And that's why I chose the prisoner. Oh, almost forgot to say, this video will have spoilers for Elden Ring in it, but I'm gonna do that later, and I will announce whenever it's like real spoilers, but most of the video will be like at least spoiler-ish, so the pre-big spoilers will be me only talking about things that are in like the super early areas, like the opening tutorial area and the early parts of Limgrave. And I will say some of the things I did, but I won't say stuff about them, so it won't be spoilery. Then there'll be a cutoff, and I'll do some spoilers. Thumbs up, cool. So, I get into the game, I do the little tutorial area, I'm alive, I'm living, I'm breathing, I died to the little scion with a million arms, like you're supposed to, love it. You know what, I'm here to do that. And then, first thing I do, forgot to mention earlier, I also, my item was the stone sword keys, and the stone sword keys let you get into special, like, blocked off areas. They're essentially like keys that open certain doors, but they're magical, so thumbs up. And in the first area, right after you get out of the tutorial, there is one of those right off to the side. And I was like, yeah, duh, okay. Put the things in the hole, and then went into the thing, and it was like a dungeon-looking thing, and there's like a ledge, and I'm like, of course, for me. And immediately, I'm in a pool of poison swampness. Like, thank you From Software, you're making it stinky. And then I'm running, trying to, you know what I mean? Like, the first place they put a poison swamp, like, that's like the size of, like, maybe a living room. But it's long enough that you get poisoned if you're not fast enough. Also, quick tip, if you roll in swamps in this game, the stinky gets on you and you're smelly, making you die faster. Remember that one, kids. And so, the first area that I end up doing is like a mean dungeon. It's like, when people like think badly of From Software games and how mean they are, this is what it is. This one's one of those. And because immediately when you turn the corner and you're not in the stinky anymore, you're like, okay, I'm safe. There's this big chariot, stone chariot that's just like, you! And it rolls in, and you can see it behind me. It's clearly there, and I did die a lot to it. No, I hesitated, I'm stupid! I knew it! I knew it would do it! I am so stupid! So, that was fun. That first area is just like a dungeon that does everything it can to be very mean, to give you that sort of classic, like, trial and error, I'm going to die a gazillion times because this game's gonna trick me as much as it can, dungeon. And it was kind of fun, actually. It was just like, I couldn't help but smile every time the game was like, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And something that I want to say that about that area is that the game kind of tries to, for the most part, leave a lot of the gotchas in those areas. So you know, hey, this is where you should be stupidly cautious, because these dungeons are where we're gonna gotcha. And in the overworld, there's a lot less gotcha, but it's still there. I mean, the bear. No. And then there's some other stuff like that, but for the most part, you don't have to be overly cautious in the overworld. And I really appreciate that kind of separation of church and state. You know what I mean? Church being the gotcha, and state being the, this is like the game and how it plays. You know? But once I was finished with that, oh, and to be clear, I didn't actually finish that area correctly. There's, so this dungeon, I thought I'd completed it because I'd gotten like a special item or whatever, but there was a boss in there that I never fought until like way later, and there's like a bunch of secret stuff in there, and that's like the entire game. The entire game has a lot of this, and I'm going to be talking about that later in this video, how that's really cool, but sometimes doesn't feel great, but it's still great, and I love it, and it's kind of a balancing act. Like, I'll get to that later. But anyway, so then after that, I'm doing the stuff. I'm playing the Limgrave area, and it's classic stuff. And honestly, guys, everyone's gonna say it. You watch a video when someone's talking about Elden Ring, and they're gonna be like, "Oh God, guys, this game's so beautiful, and you look at that, the horizon, and then there's like a big knight coming at me, and there's like the pretty goats who be doing cartwheels. It's so cute and beautiful." As like the tree sentinels like swooping them into the sky, and they're just like, "Wow, so pretty." That was me for sure. Except for I avoided the tree sentinel every chance I could get. Nope. That's gonna be not me fighting that guy. But yeah, oh geez, guys, this game is gorgeous and it's really fun. And look, this game, I know people like use buzzwords like emergent gameplay, but this game has a very interesting version of emergent gameplay, right? So let's talk about Breath of the Wild for a second. Breath of the Wild has emergent gameplay because it has systems that work really interestingly together to allow situations to play out in different and interesting ways. Example being how you can light grass on fire and create an updraft that you can use to float, right? That's amazing that you can just do that where there's grass. Or how you can chop down trees, they land on enemies, it deals damage to them. There's a lot of interesting gameplay like that. You can freeze water and walk on it, you can melt ice with your fire, and it works as a system that is consistent throughout the world, which allows a lot of the places you go and things you see to interact in an interesting way, so that this thing called emergent gameplay exists, because the things that happen are because of systems interacting, not because of preset things, in the world. In Elden Ring, it's not exactly like that. In Elden Ring, how do I explain this to y'all? In Elden Ring, the emergent gameplay is more about how you encounter what they've set up for you. A lot of it actually is a little bit more scripted and set out for you to experience, even though it's open world, but it's done in such a way that the aesthetics of it are consistently an experience. They have set up places in the world for you to experience, and those things are just there, right? There isn't a linear path that you go down. There isn't a gate. There's not a gate to which these things appear because you do things in the specific order the game wants you to. There's very few gates keeping you from different areas, right? There's a couple, of course, but there's not as much of it, and what it's doing is it's setting up a world where experiences exist. So it's not about systems, and so the emergent gameplay in Elden Ring is a lot less open and creative, but a lot more just impactful, not just aesthetically, but how it makes you feel, right? It's evocative. That's the word I was looking to use. I'm a very big brain, and I can use this word properly. See, the scenarios you find yourself in are very evocative, and that's something that's always been true for these From Software games, is that you open a door and suddenly you're in a boss fight, but it's like quiet, and the music is very low, and it's a small room. So it's just this like guy at the end of the thing, and you see him, and he just pulls out his sword, and you're like, is this a boss fight? Am I in a boss fight right now? Geez, look at the time. Let me just fog wall. So it makes you feel something. You're like, oh, that's really weird and interesting. The Pursuer boss fight, right? He just flies in and you're like, fucking okay. Like, especially when they don't, like, some of their cutscenes in From Software games set up this mood, but especially a boss fight that just starts wherever you are and you just see him and you're like, oh fuck. That is evocative. You feel something. You see something in the world that's just like, whoa, it's not just a random... Okay, here's my real rant on this, right? Okay, a lot of open world games use so much recycled, like, assets, content, and situations that when you go somewhere, it's not interesting because you already know what it is. You're like, it's a camp full of bad guys. Maybe there's a more powerful one there, but it's not like an experience or the bad guy camp is saying something or doing something special that builds to the whole experience. That these experiences aren't interesting. You get to a different region, you're like, well, it's still pretty similar, same trees, same bad guys, but different level. Maybe it's a different clan, but they're not that different. And those games are not evocative. They're the opposite of evocative in those open world scenarios, and they do not make use of the things that Elden Ring is making use of incredibly in this game. The thing is, Elden Ring reuses its own ideas in very interesting ways that exist differently in the scenarios in. I know that doesn't make any sense, so let me kind of lay it out a little bit clearer here, because I am obviously rambling. I mean, the thing I mean for the evocative, emergent gameplay in Elden Ring is that you are likely to see something interesting and completely new no matter where you're going, even if it's in the completely same area. For example, one of the first things you experience whenever you walk out into Limgrave in the early game is seeing, like, not even too far away, just seeing, oh, that's the Tree Sentinel. That's a big knight guy just walking around that could fuck me up at any point. And it's just him. There aren't like a bunch of him out in the world. You're not just going to experience a million Tree Sentinels. There might be more than one in the game. I don't actually know yet because I haven't beaten the game. Spoiler alert on that, on this. So it's like unique. You're like, this is the Tree Sentinel. Fuck. And you get farther in, and there's like a hill in Limgrave where there's a bunch of giants. And there are multiple giants throughout the world. They're a normal enemy, but the placement of these giants always means something and is always unique. It is not just, here's another giant I fight. Even the repeated, like, zones, like, I won't explain what they do because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but the mausoleums are these giant rocks that you saw in the trailer that are walking, that have a giant bell under them, and there's more than one of those. So spoiler alert, sorry, there's more than one of those. But even those, where they are, what they do, and the experience you have centering around them is unique and evocative. You're riding on your horse and you see this giant stone thing that you can't kill that has a bell underneath it ringing, and there's these ghost soldiers just like rising up around it. I can't with you guys. Like, and there's not a ton of it. They don't overuse it. There's just some of them. And everything is used that way. Everything is used purposefully. That's the thing, is the placement of all the enemies in this open world. All of the enemies, all of the bosses, all of the incredibly unique encounters. They hide unique encounters that maybe 5% of the players are going to see in this game, because it makes the game evocative, and it makes you, I'm going to use that word a lot, by the way, it makes you want to go exploring because you care, because you can see these things. You can find these incredible experiences. And maybe I'm using the term emergent gameplay incorrectly, but fuck, dude. Even in this game, if you find the same enemy in two places, it's gonna feel differently. Okay, take the wolves. Take the wolves for example, right? There's wolves in a forest, and there's like a Pride Rock looking thing right out in the world where there's wolves, and there's like a white one chilling. He's big chilling, and he's like the pack leader. And there's a bunch of gray ones around him, and if you go up, they will attack you as a pack. There's another place where there's wolves where you're walking through a forest and they all just drop out of the trees. Like, shoot, dude, this game is so cool and exciting, and they just use what they have well. Something that lesser cool people might say is that the graphics aren't to the toppest tier of graphics in the industry. And that's true. Like, the fidelity of the graphics isn't crazy high. Like, what you're seeing could easily be run on a previous gen console. Like, and it is, obviously, but it's like nothing special in that department. But who fucking cares? The art direction is god tier in these games. They know what to do with the assets they have, and they know how... Oh, okay, actually, let me interrupt myself again. The thing is they're really good with asset economy. You may notice that they reuse some animations, some, like, partial, like, base models of characters from other parts in the FromSoft games, and sometimes the enemy types have some similarities to other characters they've had in the games, but, they've changed and tweaked some things to them. You may have noticed that, yet if you're like a fan of the games and you play them, you've played them a lot, this doesn't bother you, usually. Or it doesn't bother me at the very least. And the reason this doesn't bother me is because of how well it's used. They are so smart in doing that. They will reuse things in ways that add to the experience and save them money and time. This is a game from, as much as I dislike corporations, that they have a way that they work, right? And it's amazing that a game can reuse assets, skimp a little bit on the graphical fidelity, and still make this game come out on time, and with this huge, expansive world and large amounts of gameplay to it. And the reason they're able to is because they know how to use their asset economy and how to reuse things in such a way that it's not taking away from the experience, but adding to it and saving them time that they can use on other things. It's not like they're being lazy and going, okay, we're just, we can reuse this asset because it doesn't matter. No, they're reusing an asset so they can spend more time on the amazing bosses or on the amazing environment or on the art direction that is just so god tier. That's what they're doing. And, it's oof. Something I gotta say though is a little warning. Whenever I first played the game, I decided to do what I did in Breath of the Wild and set off in a direction, just kind of keep going that direction and just do whatever I see in that direction. I don't think that's a good idea in this game. I actually think you should explore an area as much as you want to, and then when you're ready to leave that area, go to the next region. A lot of the regions are interconnected with one another, so they're not cut off, but I would still suggest kind of breaking in sections. And there's a couple of reasons. I'm going to go into a couple of them later, but for me, I ended up getting all the way really far to a place called Raya Lucaria really early in the game, and I A, wasn't ready for it, but B, it felt like I actually just missed a lot of stuff. I didn't see much of Limgrave. I didn't do much of the southern areas, and I think that was negative on my experience, a small negative, and my own fault. And the game doesn't punish you for doing these things, so it's totally okay to do it. But I think, and this is what I'm going to get into next, this next little section I'm going to talk about, I think that by not going into separate areas until you feel like you're ready to leave an area, you don't need to be fully done with that area, but until you felt like you've got enough of it that you can move on, is because of a thing that this game really does to people, and that is FOMO, fear of missing out. So this plays off of how good they are at their world design and making interesting things to find and explore to find in their world. Is instead of it being like, yeah, I can move on to the next section because I've done enough here, it's more like, I don't want to leave this section in case I've missed something cool, because so much of it's cool. And a lot of the really well hidden stuff, the stuff behind invisible walls, invisible floors, and hidden in tiny little crevices where there's a dungeon, a lot of that stuff is amazing and really well made and really fun and cool and interesting and aesthetic. It makes you feel like you've missed something, or like you're not getting to experience all the cool stuff the game has to offer if you move on. And I do believe it's a byproduct of them designing things so well and making so much of it, putting so much time into making things so good and interesting, because if it's an open world, you're going to need a lot of points of interest, a lot of things to do, and a lot of hidden stuff that make you want to explore. But if all of that's interesting and good, then that means players like me who really like their designs and want to experience all of their enemy designs, all of their bosses, and all of that stuff, are going to want to find all of it. And that means if, like I actually did, you leave the early area too soon, go to the next area, beat it, don't fully explore it because you thought you did enough of it, because you thought, I probably did a decent amount of it, because you actually explored a decent bit, and then you move on to the next area, or you move on to Caelid, or you move on to Raya Lucaria, these are areas in the game, you're gonna feel like you missed so much, especially when you go hang out with your friends and they've experienced all sorts of shit you've never experienced. So for a player like me, yes, it feels a little bad because it feels like I missed something I really wanted to experience, but I think overall it is a bonus, it is a good thing, because it means all of the content is really good, and it means that the stuff is so well designed that any player can play it and experience a completely different chunk of it. So it is a good thing, but that fear of missing out has really felt bad for me. And like I said, I wouldn't have changed it for the world, but it does feel bad because then I'm like, shit, I need to go back. I need to go back and search harder to find the things that are here, because everything's cool. Everything in this game is awesome and cool. Which leads me to my next thing that I want to talk about, which is being over-leveled. Now, it's an open world game, so you can go anywhere at any time, and what can end up happening, because if you do what I did, is you storm through an area, do another thing, get a bunch of experience points and level up and upgrade your weapons, and then you come back to Limgrave because you're like, FOMO, I missed a bunch of stuff I wanted to see, and you just start trekking things. This is not as much of a problem as you get further in the game. Areas are difficult for different reasons. They're difficult because their mechanics are harder to deal with, and they ask you to understand different things and work around different problems. I don't want to get too specific. Whereas the Limgrave, Weeping Peninsula, Stormvale, and Early Caelid sort of deal is more like strict power level before you start really learning the mechanics. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but it is a thing that happened to me, and it kind of sucked because, and the reason I was over-leveled wasn't just be like, you wouldn't be over-leveled if you just went Limgrave, maybe some Weeping Peninsula, and Stormvale were like the areas you were fighting in. You wouldn't be over-leveled for that, but I was because I went to the Eternal City. I forgot what its name is off the top of my head, but it's the underground place with stars, and it's cool as fuck. It's got spirits everywhere. I'll get more in detail about how much I loved that later, but for now, I'm just going to talk about that. I did that area, beat its big boss, it has 2 bosses, so beat its giant boss, like the cool one, and got over-leveled so that, and I hadn't done the Weeping Peninsula at all yet, so then when I went to the Weeping Peninsula, I completely just crushed everything there. It wasn't even close. Next thing I'm going to talk about is, well, getting good. And in this game, do you need to? See, a lot of the way people talk about these games online, these From Software games, and it has to do with, the hardcore nature of it and the get good mentality where it's like, just play the game, let it beat the shit out of you, and you just better get better at the mechanics. And of course that's like a shitty way to talk about it, and it's like very polarizing, very exclusionary from people who just want to enjoy themselves. And these games aren't like easy games, I understand that. They're not meant to be, and they're fun and interesting and rewarding because of the way the systems work. But something Elden Ring does that's really cool is it goes out of its way to further the ability of players to play it their way and enjoy it no matter what. Like, that whole get good mentality, it does come from a place of saying, you'll feel good and be rewarded by these games if you take the time to learn their systems and apply them to the combat, to the encounters you have in the game, and then you'll feel good, you'll feel rewarded. And Elden Ring does something really cool with all of it. It's adding systems, and it makes those systems easier to use, that make it to where players who don't want to do the one way to play, which is like melee weapon in the face of the boss the whole game, like players who want to play it in different ways but still experience the fun of it, it makes those better. And it does that in 2 ways. 3 ways, actually, I would say. So you've got summoning. Summoning will allow you to summon the spirits of enemies to fight at your side, which will allow them to take the aggro of opponents and deal damage to them so that you can get your breather and deal some damage or heal. Another system, the magic system from all the old games is better in this game because a lot of spells cast a little bit faster, use a little bit less FP, which is like the mana in the game, and work more reliably, which is a huge deal that they actually work more reliably on the enemies you're trying to get them to get to use them on. And also, a lot of them look way cooler, so style-wise, you look cool using the magic. So having ranged abilities that really do deal damage is really cool. Also, with the magic that I was just talking about, I don't know why I'm holding it 4, whatever. That's a number, but not the number I'm talking about. A lot of the magic also does something very interesting. Actually, no, magic doesn't cost less FP than it used to. It costs a similar amount, but the enemies are like harder, and so your magic, what ends up happening in a fight with magic is you use it, it deals really good damage, and once you're done with it, then you gotta go in. So what magic is doing is if you can survive and dodge and get these hits off, it's letting you get in some damage to whittle down the boss and then go in for the actual, like for the rest of the fight. I think it's a really rewarding style of play, which feeds into the spirit summoning as well. And also, the other thing I was going to say is mounted combat. Mounted combat is so good in this game. It feels so fluid. You can cast spells from it, and the actual, like, hitting with your weapon feels good because you can charge, you can double jump with your horse? I mean, whoever heard of a spirit horse, And so having these systems work so well, it makes all of the combat feel better and feel more rewarding to learn. The old games had a lot of very slow kind of commit to what you're doing or you're going to miss and die, and that's good because it built a system that the new game, Elden Ring, can rely on as a foundation, but it has all these extra tools to make the game feel better and more varied, where you're not just dodge, run away, hit, dodge, run away, hit. Instead, you're like, use my spells at the beginning of the match, hit them, summon my dude to take off aggro for a little bit while I hit them and heal, and then once all of that's gone, it's the end of the fight for me, and I've got these like stages in the boss fight that I've created by using their systems. As well, horse combat is just a spectacle in general. Just play some of the dragon footage, dude. Like, it's so good. It looks amazing. You're like, you get the big picture of the boss, and you're riding your horse, and you're like, it's like a movie, dude. It's like a movie you're playing. Of course, that's such a cliche thing to say, but in a good way. Not like a cutscene, like an actual, like, it's incredibly cinematic, but through the gameplay systems, rather than through the game just throwing cinematics at you. So, wow, I know that was completely disorganized, but what I'm trying to say is the game really does reward you for using its systems, and these systems, some of them make the game a little bit easier to play in a good way. So, you don't have to beat your head against a brick wall like the old games to be able to learn how to play the game and enjoy it. So, using the spirit summons, using the magic is completely viable, and anyone who makes you feel bad for using those is a fucking jerk, first of all. But second of all, I welcome anything that gets more players to play these games. Second of all, I feel like I'm not bad at these games. I'm not amazing, but I don't feel like I'm bad at these games. I can play them. I love melee builds and everything, but I still use magic and summons, okay? You use whatever tools you have to win, always. That's how From Software's games are built. That's why they give you the tools. I mean, that's why they give you so many tools, so many different tools, all sorts of items, all sorts of consumables, all sorts of spells, all sorts of different kinds of equipments and weapons and everything. They give you infinite tools to use, and you should use them. You can summon your friends into the world to help you out. You can summon random players to assist you too. Like, it doesn't just have to be people you know, and you're supposed to use them. And I want to say something though. You may be thinking, right, if I have all of these tools, and there are players out there saying, no, you should just use melee builds and that's it. You shouldn't even use shields. You should just dodge roll, jump away, and attack, and that should be your system. If those players are doing that and killing those bosses, are you gonna just not have fun then? Because you use this easier systems that deal damage from afar or something? And I gotta say, that if that was ever true in the other games, it's not true in this game. The enemies are big, fast, mean. They've got attack patterns that are really brutal compared to older games. Dude, hot take. Crucible Knight would fuck on Ornstein and Smo. Dude, take one Crucible Knight, and that dude would kill both Ornstein and Snow. Excuse? Huh? That dude would kill Ornstein and Smo by himself. Those Crucible Knights are... Bah! True! You don't understand. So what I'm saying is, they've really ratcheted up the gameplay design of enemies to match the amount of systems. And what I think that does, actually, is not only does it make you feel more rewarded when you defeat things because they're harder, more aggressive, and their AI doesn't feel like dog doo-doo, it also encourages players like me, who've been playing them for a long time, to use these systems I never used to use. Do you think I cast a single spell in Dark Souls 3? Joke. No, but in this game, I feel like I need to be using these to win. And that's a good feeling. If I play a game and the game feels like it's saying, you gotta use these systems, I present you these options, and you should use them, and I do, and I feel rewarded for doing so, that's incredible. I pulled out all the stops for the Crucible Knight plus Misbegotten Warrior fight where there's two dudes. I pulled out all the stops for that fight because I died like 100 times to it. And when I finally beat it, I was... Jesus Christ. If you end up playing this game and you haven't yet, or you're currently playing it, I encourage you to use all the systems. Now, you may find yourself in areas where using all these systems like this just makes them a little bit easier, but trust me, if you just play the game a little bit longer, go to some other areas, you won't feel that way anymore. You won't remain overleveled the whole game or overpowered the whole game. You will still get your shit rocked. Just saying. And yes, there will come times whenever you go to an area and you're a little bit too powerful and it's not as fun as you thought it was going to be for that small area just because of how powerful you are. That poor Stone Digger troll, he didn't stand a chance. But that's not super common. That's very few and far between. And in fact, you're more likely to go back to an area and find something new that's even harder. Because the better hidden something is, like a boss, the much harder it's going to be. And I think that that's a genius way to do things. Even in Limgrave, there's some hidden stuff that you're going to find that is just way harder than the like mainline path stuff that you fight. So always be on the lookout and always be coming back to try and find those things once you're a little bit more, ready. The last thing I'm going to talk about is very spoilery. It talks about an entire section of the game that I thought was amazing and beautiful and cool. And I'm just not going to hold back on what I talk about with it. So, spoiler. So yes, I think it's called the Eternal City, and I'm too lazy to look it up right now, but it's a place way underground, like super far underground. Like the elevator that takes you there, it just takes forever to get to the bottom, and you're going down and down and down. And as you get further down, there's like stars above you. Oh my god, underground stars. Mwah, mwah, mwah. The place is gorgeous. The aesthetics are unmatched. And it's kind of like a spirity area because there's these like spirit giants that are everywhere. And there's like a lake, but it's underground. Gorgeous. That place was amazing. Even though I said spoilers already, I'm not going to go too much in depth about everything there. Obviously, there's giant dudes with bows and arrows who shoot you from really far and kill you in one shot. Of course, normal. But like, I went down there at a very, very early level. Like, I went there right after beating Godric, but I hadn't done really any of Caelid yet, and I hadn't done any of the Weeping Peninsula yet. I was maybe level 20, 25, maybe a little close to 30, something like that, and I was getting my shit rocked. Like, things were killing me in one shot. The clay dudes were terrifying. Like, the claymen with the crystals on them. I mean, they would one-shot me easily. Oh my god, it was so terrifying. I loved it. It was amazing. And that place was gorgeous. I loved wandering around it. I felt like I had to sneak everywhere. I was a sneaky boy the whole time. And I got spooked on multiple occasions because getting one shot. Anyway, so if you go there, you'll see it, you'll understand. And I think that this place exemplifies the masterful art direction of this game because it's an underground city with stars in the clouds of an underground city with spirits hanging out. It's obviously ancient as fuck, so these spirits maybe are from the previous like people who built this place, and there's all this like ancient shit. It's a place where, okay, I lied, this isn't the last section. After this, I'm going to talk about lore, but I don't know anything about the lore in this place. Like, I don't understand it at all. I can't even get like fragments of it because I'm barely understanding what I'm looking at. It's amazing, and it's so speculative. I want to think about it and understand it so much. My experience is there. It's so hard for me to go into more detail. It's just so much there. There's like these giant pillars that are like falling in on each other underground that have different layers, and it looks like it's crumbling off into an abyss. And there's like a lake. The big boss there's a second boss that's like a dragony thing that I went back way later because I didn't know it's there. Nice one, Johnny. But it's a giant stag, like a huge stag that is all spirity. And it can double jump like your steed can. And it's really fucking cool. It's so gorgeous. And the music is like peaceful. And it like slowly walks up. And then it does a giant jump thing. And it's like walking on the air. And the music, it makes you feel like you're killing what's called ancestral spirit or something like that. And it's like you're killing the last remnant of a species or something that's just like holding on from this past begone, like by God, whatever, foreign past era. And it's like sad. You know, Dark Souls are all about like killing old men to sad music is the joke meme, sorry. That boss, so I was super underleveled when I fought that boss, and that took me a gazillion tries. And it felt so good. It felt so good learning the boss and being like, okay, and I do this, then this part I do this, and then I go over here, and oh no, it's going to do the back kick to me. And that stuff is amazing. I love that feeling when I finally beat it. I was like, I just came. Yes! Yes! Oh my god. Holy sh... I got a couple minutes. Let me get this in here. Okay, look, here I'm gonna play a bunch of clips of me talking about the lore, but I just want to say that the lore in this game is, like all the other Dark Souls games, very well hidden, and you piecemeal it together through like item descriptions, visual storytelling, and environmental storytelling, and some of the characters, what they say. It's amazing, and I love how much it makes me wonder, and like, I'm curious, like the Eternal City, I'm like, Eternal City, like how long has this been here? When's it from? Is it from before the Erd Tree? Is it from before the Elden Ring broke, which is apparently a long time ago? But anyway, I love how much I'm thinking about that lore as I'm playing. This isn't everyone. A lot of people just don't even pay attention at all, which is fine, because the game doesn't make you. You don't need to care about the lore to enjoy the game. It doesn't shove it down your throat. There's not a ton of cutscenes. I love that. And I love that it doesn't do that, so that I'm out there, like, digging for it. I'm looking, it's like an archaeological dig, trying to find all the little pieces and fit them together, and coming up with theories, and even if I'm wrong about my theories, I do not care, because I love them so much, and I want to think about it and learn about it, and I want to be wrong, and I want to be right, and I want to be, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not. Anyway, we're just gonna put all these clips together of me talking about the lore randomly right after this, watch them. It's so cool, and after that, I'm just gonna close out the video. This isn't a big, like, revelatory video. I'm just talking about Elden Ring, guys. This game fucks. You guys should play it. I'm probably gonna make more than one video about this game because I love it so much. This one's very general, very rambly, and maybe I'll do more specific videos about specific things in the future, but, yeah. Okay. Wait. Larval tear. Tears can be in larval stages? That means the tears are living things. I don't know if that's actually amber. I'm starting to think a lot of the labels of stuff in this game are what the people in this world call it, but that's not actually what it is. That's probably a mushroom. But that yellow amber, I don't think that's amber. And the things they're calling tears, I don't even know what they are, but okay, so there's like an item that hold on. So these flasks are called flask of color tears, right? And you're thinking like that's a liquid, and the tears is like a phrase because they're a special magical thing. They could be like not real. They could be tears, like you say, like the tears of a god, or they could be like metaphorical tears. It's a liquid that comes from something in this world. But I'm starting to think it's not that. It's not even like a regular like liquid, like sap or blood or spit or water. I'm starting to think it's not even that, because there is an item you can get that's called a larval tear, like a larva, meaning the larva stage of a tear. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would a tear, a liquid thing, have a larval stage to it? So I'm starting to think that the tears are not tears, and that they might be something completely different. Something to do with the lore, clearly, but more than that, I think they're living things that I'm consuming for mana and health. Could be gamer fuel. Yeah, it's true. Or bathwater. I hope all your theories turn out to be correct and you'll have video evidence you were right. Yeah, that would be so sick. I haven't gotten far enough to find, I think, the deeper lore. It's more surface level, like, fantasy world, which is, all the Souls games have their, like, surface level flavor, and then they get deeper and things get a little bit different. Dark Souls is more like conceptual thematic changes happen as you get deeper in the lore, instead of like the genre changing. The genre is always like high fantasy, whereas both Sekiro and Bloodborne, the like genre of game, the genre of storytelling changes once you get deeper in the game. I'm gonna keep trying to guess at the lore in this game, like off and on whenever I get stuff, because I love Souls, like Dark Souls game lore, like From Software game lore. So I'm gonna keep trying to guess it by myself and see if I can come up with the right answers or not. I'm okay if I'm wrong. I don't care about that. I just want to try because there's so many. It's always so cryptic. The best guess I don't think they would retread some of the things they did in Bloodborne, but I am getting some of those vibes right now with some of the information I have been picking up from the lore. I think there's a 100% chance that I make a video on this game. 100% chance. Question is when and about what specifically. Okay. Alright, we got this, Count Blake. You and me. I'm a sneak. I'm sorry, I'm a sneak. I believe in my capabilities, but also not worth. Not right now. It's probably a cool item up there and everything. Damn, they're gonna do that all day, aren't they? Theory number 2. Okay, so there are humans and demi-humans, right? Now, problem I'm having is I mistakenly assumed that when they shattered the ring and took the law of death, it meant everyone, like, nobody could die. But I don't know if that's true, because, I mean, like, us killing these things like this doesn't count as them dying, because if you kill a Tarnished will still come back. But I wonder if it's just the Tarnished who forever come back. I don't know for sure. I had some really interesting theories about the grafted ones that are from one of the previous streams, and I'm not sure if my theory is correct anymore. It was that they were grafting the body parts of Tarnished onto them because Tarnished can't die, so their body parts can't die, and so they could have living grafted human body parts to have extra arms, legs, and all that nonsense. That was my guess, and one of the guesses I was having for the demi-humans was that, like, they eat Tarnished, or, like, just things that can't die, they eat their flesh and become, and, like, mutate because they have living flesh digested inside of them, like flesh that can't die. I don't know, that was a guess I had, but I don't think that's true either anymore. Finding lore clues organically by exploring seems really satisfying. Yes! This game's really good at that! Oh, fuck. No. Oh, did you guys see that? Oh my god. Not to be a streamer, but holy crap, that was very terrifying. Ow. I knew it! No! No, I'm big dumb! Make it. Ooh, thanks! Glad you have faith in me. Too bad this ain't a faith build. I love how, like, I move in my chair to, like, try and look over ledges. Very big brain. You better get back here. Tarnished golden sunflower. Where do I drop? Where are we dropping, boys? Oh my god, I lean all the time, especially when steering Mario Kart. It's unconscious, you know, you have to. If you want to be a real gamer, TM. Well, now that I think about it, I could still be correct about the demi-humans eating other humans, and that's how they, like, that's how they get their mutations and stuff. Because they were literally talking about being, the noble ghost phantom thing was talking about being eaten by these guys. And clearly they're chopping up the bodies and, like, eating them. So maybe I'm right. That if you eat undying things, you'll mutate. So that's all I wanted to say about Elden Ring. Nothing crazy, nothing special. I'm not going in a deep dive. I just wanted to talk about it because I've been thinking so much about it. And hey, look, I've got a YouTube channel, so I can. Well, wow, I can. Do you mean it? I can really do this on YouTube? I'm allowed? You'll let me put my opinions on there? And so, thank you for watching it. I'm sorry it's so rambly. If this isn't the kind of thing you like seeing from our channel, let me know in the comments. If you would enjoy more just casual me talking about stuff that I'm thinking about, because I go off, you know I go hard, then let me know as well in the comments, because we'll do that. I'm enjoying talking about stuff. Me and Christian have been really busy, so it's been really hard to put out videos as much, and these are actually easier to make. So in between bigger, longer projects like the conspiracy video and the Mortal Kombat video that we were working on, it's nice to have these kinds of things to put out. So if you'd like that, just so that we have more communication, we can talk to you and show you what we're thinking about, what we're talking about, let us know. We'll do that for sure. Thank you guys so much. We have a Discord. It should be linked in the description. So if you haven't joined it, that's crazy. Why not? You should do that. And once you do, tell me your favorite fictional character. It's like so simple and all. And then, you know, just like maybe watch our streams. We stream every Thursday for sure at like 7 Central, but sometimes I'll just randomly stream here and there. Also, I've been streaming my entire playthrough of Elden Ring, so I've been playing it all off stream, and there is a playlist of all of it. They're numbered. We're at episode 8 currently as I'm talking right here, and so if you just wanted to watch my playthrough of that, go ahead and check it out. I'm having a lot of fun. Obviously, this video was created because the game's really good. Other than that, we're on Twitter. I love you so much. We have a TikTok, but we haven't posted in a while because our views got like plummeted, which whatever, what can you do? I didn't have a choice. Please like, please subscribe, please comment in the description, and also maybe consider ringing the bell to summon invaders into your world. There's a bear in there.